Today, we're going to explore a tool that I use. We're going to workshop it together, and we're going to do the research to understand how you can enter your current market and identify what is it that I would want to be in my ideal practice. Who do I really want to serve? We're going to get really keen on what kind of practice exactly, who is your audience? And then we're going to match that against the current market that you're in. And we'll be able to see whether or not it's feasible that you can serve your market and actually create a sustainable and a meaningful practice. Just to give you a little bit of an overview, an outline, we're going to cover 5 different modules. The first one is establishing your ideal brand, your mission, your vision, your brand personality, your brand services, the audience and the clients that you want to attract. We're going to identify them, document them. We're going to put them into a really nice structure that will be able to just see from a bird's eye view how you envision the brand that you want to create. The second module will be all about researching the number of people that you could potentially serve. Now, you don't have to worry about how to research it. The tool includes like a really powerful AI that pulls all the information that you provided in module 1. So it will actually tell us how many people and how many of which kinds of people you can focus on. Then we're going to identify your market peers, and we'll try to understand, what kind of other practitioners are in your area, what kind of gaps there are in the services that others may offer, how may we step into the market with something unique, and we'll understand whether other practitioners are also doing similar things to us, whether or not we would be able to actually carve out a sustainable practice given the market landscape. We'll generate a list of all relevant peers, and then we're going to go and individually study them and decide which ones we feel are actually overlapping with our particular practice. We'll identify in more detail the specifics of your market peers. We're not competition, but we want to make sure that the market can sustain our practice while there is already an existing practice within our service area. The fourth module is simply summarizing everything that we've gleaned from this process. AI will develop a holistic summary of your brand, of your practice, of your market, so you can easily have a documented research in one place. And the last module is some additional resources that I made available as part of this process. If that seems like it's going to be complicated, then let me assure you, I do have a free community with all the support that you might need. So you don't have to worry. You can come to our office hours and ask any questions that you have about this tool, about this setup. We're really here to help you. So if for whatever reason you're having some trouble, there is a link, and that's going to be part of our link tree you'll find in the description. So join the community. Like I said, it's absolutely free. It's going to probably take somewhere from a half an hour to an hour. So I would suggest make yourself comfortable, get in front of a computer. I'm going to show you how to access the tool first, and then we'll jump right in. So without any further ado, let's go. When you click on the link in the description, you will see this link tree. And here we have several different links. One is to access the platform where we create the brand foundations. I just want to point out, we also have a sign up for our membership over here. If you want to learn more about our free community membership, you can just click on this link. And that's also where you'll get support if you have any questions about the Foundations workshop. We'll click on this link to actually access it. So I'm going to walk you through the whole process. The first thing you'll want to do is click on create an account with Airtable. If you don't already have an account from any of our other workshops, you simply click on this link. and it will prompt you to enter your email address or your Google account. Since I already have an account, it's not prompting me to do that. It's just a couple of clicks, fairly straightforward to create that account. The next thing you're going to want to do is go to this link over here, the Brand Foundations Workshop. Since you have an account already, you can simply click on this link, and that will take you over here. And this is a little explainer about our Brand Foundations Workshop. So we're going to go to Explore the Base and then Copy Base. We're going to go to Explore the Base and then Copy Base. Once you copy the base, it's going to ask you which folder you want to put in. It will say which workspace in this platform means what kind of folder. You can create a folder. It might have a default folder for you. I actually made a folder beforehand. I called it Brand Foundations Workshop, so I'll know where it goes. So when you arrive at this page, it will look super busy, and there's going to be all kinds of things here. I want you to just ignore everything. Okay, I know it can be a little intimidating. I want you to go all the way to this top button where it says Launch. Okay, so we're going to find our way to that top right button. It says Launch. And here we are, the dashboard of the Brand Foundations Workshop. Now, it has this little AI thing over here. I'm just going to close that. So when we arrive at the first dashboard that we see over here, this first place is the Brand Foundations Overview. And this will basically show us the different modules. We have a Brand Builder, Our People, Peer Research Part 1, Peer Research Part 2, and then the Holistic Summary part. And so to get started, I just wanted to point out we have our side column margin over here. It goes through each step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to go in order of each step. So this over here, this tab is our overview. We can click into step 1 by simply going here, or we can just go to step 1 by clicking over here. Now, the first step we need to do is create our brand. Okay, so this right now is totally blank, and we need to go to that plus button over here. And we're going to start off with our brand name. Now, I have some mock data for the purposes of this workshop, and you'll see how we use this as I enter in my mock data, but in your case, obviously, it will be real data. Now, I have a document over here with my data, so I'm just going to enter my brand name. I called it Tender Tide Create. Okay. And once I create that, this second column populates with a lot of different fields. And we're going to go through each field and we're going to discuss what they are. Okay. So the first field we have is our brand mission. Okay. And there's some instructions here what that means, because a lot of people have different ideas of what a brand mission is. And those can have a perfectly legitimate rationale, and there are many ways of thinking about a brand mission. But for the purposes of our process over here, we're going to keep it super simple. And that is, we're going to write 2 sentences. If you need 3, it's okay too. First, stating clearly what your organization does, then explain why it matters or the impact you aim to create. Keep it simple, specific, and inspiring. So let me just go to my mock data over here. I have a little mission over here. We have Tender Tide provide gentle craniosacral therapy for postpartum mothers and babies to ease tension and support natural recovery. We do this to help families feel calm, connected, and confident in their early days together. That's a very broad kind of mission. You might want to be more specific, say like, we do this to help families in our area. We do this to help a certain demographic of families. So whatever your mission is, you want to be as specific and clear as possible. But I'm going to keep it, I think this is specific enough for our example. Now we get into taglines. It might not be super important to have a tagline, but I think it's very helpful. So a tagline is where we identify your unique position that you want to occupy in your client's mind. We focus on what sets you apart and why it matters for your audience. Keep it clear, short, and easy to recall. Again, at this early stage of development, we don't necessarily have to fill this in. Mock data over here that I'm going to add to our tagline. It's also called a slogan. Okay. And this is kind of the super quick elevator pitch. postpartum care for moms and babies to recover and connect. Okay. That's like the elevator pitch. Hey, what do? I provide postpartum care for moms and babies. Next, we have the brand personality. Okay. And this is describe your brand as if it were a person. Lists its traits, tones, values that guide how it looks, speaks, and connects. This is usually a reflection of who you are, what makes you unique, and that will manifest in your brand. Again, that's not a hard rule. If you want your brand to be a little bit different than you, maybe there's somebody else that you want to model your brand through, maybe somebody that inspires you. I'll just enter in my mock data to get a sense of what we mean here. Calm, nurturing, and deeply attuned, someone who speaks softly but carries steady confidence. She listens more than she talks, creating space for others to exhale. Her presence feels like warm sunlight through a window, the quiet rhythm of ocean waves, soothing, grounded, and reassuring. Yeah, I did use ChatGPT for this. Again, super high level over here, but let's continue. We have next one, our brand, spirit, animal, or object. Now let's say, okay, this is just too fluffy. I don't have a brand, spirit, animal, or object. We can leave it blank. I happen to have a brand, spirit, animal, and that will be a sea otter. And then we have a rationale field over here. Why is this our brand, spirit, animal? Well, the sea otter gives birth to one single pup, which the mother carries on her belly while floating on the water. She grooms, nurses, and protects it constantly, even wrapping it in kelp to keep it from drifting away while she dives for food. Okay, so something that really starts to shape the brand that you're trying to create. Right? Now we can start to already feel that the practice you're going to create is beginning to get contoured by a personality, by style, by more emotionally resonant feelings. Okay, after we finish this section, we go to the next section, and that's where we define our brand style. Now, it doesn't have to be like formal. It can be as simple as, I like color blue, I don't like the color red. It could be something that is super detailed. You can go wild with your rules. I'll give you our mock data to give you a sense of what kind of rules we use over here. Warm, cozy, and lived in, mixed wood, stone, and sunlight, rich textures, bold patterns, and vintage style. Natural, colorful, and welcoming, like a cabin filled with stories. Okay, that's the style that you might resonate with, that you want your brand to embody. So again, very vague, very fluffy. It is going to at least be formalized, documented in our style. You can go to a logo developer with this and say, hey, this is my brand rules. Now we have another thing, style inspiration. Now, in fact, I got the style rule based on this image over here. So I'm going to simply copy this image and drop it in here. I'll just go Command, and you can also upload an image over here as well. All right. The next section we have here is actually, it will generate a color palette for us. So let's just click this button over here. And what it's doing is it's taking the rules from here. It's taking the inspirational image over here, and it will give us a color palette. And this, again, we can go to our logo designer, we can go to our web developer, and we can say that we have established our colors and this is what it's going to be. Let's wait for the image generator to send it back to us. Okay, great. So this is what it delivered to us. These are our colors. This one seems like it gave us a little texture over here, and it even gave us a little explainer of the rationale. Now, every time we do this, it could be a little bit different. And if you, let's say, hey, I don't really like these colors, no problem. We can generate another image, and it will just generate another one. Here's the second image that it generated. Each one seems a little bit textured, and that could be because of our prompt, the way we described what we wanted. If you like it, great. If you don't, you could change it. You can generate something else. You can also delete it right here. There's a little trash can icon to delete them if you don't like them. It takes about a minute or two to generate. So just wait for that to generate. If you want to move ahead while it's generating, we can go to the next section. And then here's where we define our service area. Now we'll put our zip code or postal code. If you don't have a specific business address yet, then identify a central zip code or postal code where you're going to be setting up, right? So this is going to be important for our market research to really know which area we're going to be in. So I have in my mock data here, my zip code right here. To drop that there. Okay. And now, how many miles from your location do you anticipate serving clients? This zip code happens to be in Boise, Idaho. Because of the way this town happens to be, I can anticipate getting clients within 15 miles. If you live in a very urban area and people don't drive, you might want to think like maybe having a much more limited service area. If you actually travel, so if you're a mobile practitioner, then again, you will determine how far you're willing to drive for your service area. Okay, now that we have that service area, let's go on to our market and our brand offering. So the first thing that we will determine is what services we're going to offer. And so here we will add our services. I'm going to hit that plus sign. I need an offer title and an offer description. Let me go to my mock data over here. Okay, so here I have infant craniosacral therapy. That will be my first one. And then I will fill in this description over here and put that here. Gentle baby-led sessions to ease tension from birth feeding challenges, support comfort with latch, digestion, sleep, and overall settling. Great. Let's create another offering. The next one I have here is latch and feeding support with CST. Craniosacral therapy focus on jaw, neck, and cranial balance to help babies feed more easily, often used alongside your IBCLC or tongue tie provider. Okay, the next one I have here is for postpartum parents. Here we have mom postpartum craniosacral therapy. Let me just drop that here. Gentle body work. The next one we have is 4th trimester duo sessions, parent and baby. So here we're really going to have the opportunity to think clearly about what kind of services we're going to be offering and really get specific and detailed. I think for now, that will be good. We have our brand offerings. Now let's turn to the people who need us. So instead of the actual services, we're going to turn to the dimensions of who it is that we're helping and why do they need us. So I'm going to say people who need us. One is we have first-time moms. Okay, we're going to define these very specifically so we can get a sense of how many people are actually the people that need us. And so they're adjusting to, why do they need us? Because they're adjusting to physical and emotional changes in early child motherhood. Let's go to the next. Experienced moms, right? So this might be a slightly different demographic of people who need us. So it's plus over here. And I'm going to copy healing after second or third birth. So it's a slightly different population and it might require slightly different messaging. Here we have newborns, obviously. That's going to be an important people that we're going to help. And for them, healthy full-term babies adjusting to life. And I'm going to put one more over here, plus sign, and that will be the preemie babies. Okay? And the preemie babies obviously have more specific needs, extra sensitive, or having trouble settling in. So we got to the bottom over here, and now we're ready for an AI-generated summary. And this will basically give us a statement of what our brand is all about. So here we go. TenderTide is a brand that offers gentle craniosacral therapy to postpartum mothers and babies, aiming to ease tension and support natural recovery. All right, kind of self-explanatory, or just gives us a nice statement over here. You can read all of that, but it basically sums everything up. If it is not accurate, or if we feel like it should have some other details, you can go in and actually change it. You can edit it directly in line. You can also rerun the agent, and it will try to synthesize a new summary. Okay, now we are ready for step 2. Okay, and now it's going to pull our information that we did in step 1. So here it's pulling in data that we entered from step 1. So we have first-time moms, experienced moms, newborns, and preemie babies. And right away, we don't need to enter any information. The information is already here, but we're going to do a little bit of research. And will estimate the number of people in the service area who may want this service. Note that the AI can make mistakes, so cross-reference and use intuition to make sure you are receiving a reasonable estimate. Okay, so let's just run this agent and see what it will tell us. Now, once it does the research, we're going to have the liberty of giving our own estimate. At the end of this process, we're really going to want to have a number that we can feel confident in putting over here. And that will be our estimate. So let's just wait for this agent to generate that number. And so for first-time moms, it estimated 2,800 people per year. The Boise community area, 15-mile radius, covers most of Boise and surrounding suburbs with a population of about 400,000. Idaho regional data suggests that 40 to 45% of births are to first-time mothers, using 42% as a midpoint. This estimate excludes parents seeking services for children who are not first-time mothers. This information, it says the source of this information, March of Dimes, CDC, U.S. Census, and regional birth statistics. And you see this one over here. It has a link over here, and we can actually click on that link to see the resource that it found this information from. So March of Dimes, a lot of data that's already available. And so that's where it pulled this data from. So it gave us a number 2,800 people potentially that will be clients of this kind of first-time mom. So what we'll do is I'm going to say the number of first-time moms, call it 1,500 potentially. You can add the priority. It's how important is this population for your business. I'd say that's a very high priority. So let's go to the next one, experienced moms. Okay, and let's just run the agent again. And while we're at it, I'm just going to run the agent for each one so we don't have to wait for it. And we'll see what results it will give us. With these numbers, we can start to think, okay, well, there's close to something like 5,000 potential people in our community. Certainly, we can work with that. That's a lot of people that would need our services. Now we have to establish, what about our market peers? So now we have to go to step 3 and determine who else is in our market. Tendertide is our brand. Now let's do some research on our local market vendors. I'm going to run that agent. It's pulling in our services. It's pulling in the people we serve. It's pulling our service area. It's doing a search for anybody else that might also serve this clientele. Okay, so that took about 5 minutes, and it found a bunch of different vendors over here that are similar to us. It actually went to 13 different resources to do the research for us. And we're not going to go through every single one, but I wanted to show you what you do at this point. So here we have Boise Lactation, Melanie Henstrom Baby Bonds. That's the name of the brand. We have the address. It says the reason why it listed them is because they provide lactation support plus infant craniosacral body work. And let's take a look at their website. Okay. You can see definitely looks like they're going to be a market pair. And it says directly overlaps with our core services. Okay. So we could look at their website. We can see where their location is and see if that's, close to us, far from us. And then we can see the next one we have is Family Seasons, LLC. You can click on their website, see what they're offering, see what their specialty is. Here it says multidisciplinary clinic, multiple practitioners offering infant and postpartum craniosacral therapy. It looks like a pretty direct overlap. Here we have Center for Orofacial Allergy, and it gives us the rationale, offers infant craniosacral therapy. So it looks like there's definitely a lot of people that are serving this market. So if anything, this validates that your services are things that the local market needs. Now let's just determine which one of these practices do we feel are direct market peers. So I'm just going to say these two at the top are direct market peers. I didn't actually look into all of these more specifically, but the next step, what we'll do is we will add the market peers that we feel are most direct. What we need to do is to see what are they doing right, where might be the gaps that they are not filling, that we can step in and find that there is a viability for us in the market. Just going to copy that website over here. Notice it saves the information until I press this create button. I'm not going to do that until I put the address in. Where's the address? Okay. Record plus, put that location, create. Okay. Boise Lactation is our direct market peer, and we're going to do more research on that brand. Next one we have here is Family Seasons LLC. Same thing, add record, plus name, click out. Let's get that address, create. So we have these two market peers over here. Again, this is all going to be very specific to you and your particular community and market. So go through these, and it might be like, hey, are there any other peers that I should know about? Because maybe this is not exhaustive. Maybe you want to see if there's more options that maybe didn't show up in this particular search. We can run the agent again and see if there's any others as well. So go ahead and run the agent if you feel like not satisfied with the first set of results, or if you want to see other results. You can also incorporate your own research. So you can simply go to Google Maps or Google Search and find more results and just add all of those in here. Once you added your market peers, we can go to step 4. On this side, we have a column for each one of our market peers. Since we put in 2 different brands in step 1, we'll see these 2 brands in step 2. Now, all we need to do is run this agent over here. And so what it's doing, it's getting us all the information relevant for us to understand what these people are offering, where the gaps might be in the market. Once we have that research, we'll be able to take notes over here and define for ourselves what it is that we want to know and remember about this particular brand. Okay, so it came up with some research for us. So here, I'll just go through it. Melanie Henderson, Boise Location Baby Bonds, Consulting Plus Infant Body Work, supports insurance billing assistance. Pricing is not published on their site. It appears to be handled case by case or via insurance billing. Good to know. Services and pricing, it tells us that they have in-home and clinic lactation consultants, virtual consults, insurance and access. Site promotes billing several insurers and working with breast pump suppliers. The pricing visibility, it says no fixed rates listed, so they don't actually show their pricing. Their target audience is expectant parents, breastfeeding moms, adoptive surrogate parents. Their brand voice and design is warm, maternal, encouraging. Their visual design, clinic site uses soft family-focused photography. The customer reviews and public reputation. They have 5-star positive feedback on their Facebook page. Notable negative media and community attention. The New York Times investigated tongue tie practices and Miss Henderson in an article about aggressive promotion of tongue tie releases. At least one detailed negative Reddit account exists, raised reputational risk and a public scrutiny. So right here, it's like so powerful to know that this market peer has negative attention. We don't want to judge anybody and come to any conclusions, but we can see there's a link to that article that talks about that negative attention they had. Here we have the next thing, marketing and tactics for advertising, active organic social media marketing. They have an Instagram account. They promote partnerships with breast pump companies. Okay, so this is like really, really extensive research. Okay, now at the end of each section of these sections, you'll see, where'd it go? This over here, competitive tactics you can use to take advantage of gaps. Okay, so there are some gaps over there. Publish clear public pricing and package options. Lead with evidence and transparency. Create educational content, video and downloadable guides explaining tongue tie assessments. Right, so just take advantage of that fact that there is a lack of transparency by this other brand. So maybe if we were super transparent, that would definitely stand out. A reputation review strategy, proactively collect and display verified patient reviews. Local paid search, maybe use local paid search and map ads. And so by using Google ads, we could definitely It even says lactation consultant Boise, that these terms might be good for us. Now, this is not a marketing or advertising tool, and there's going to be other resources that we have when it comes to advertising. So we don't necessarily have to jump to that step right now, but certainly this is very informative for our purposes. Okay. Now, in terms of our notes, what we want to note over here, you can take anything over here and just copy it and paste it into your notes. I would take this whole part over here and just copy this and add this to my notes. These notes are going to be accessible later in another module in the workshop. Instead of having to go back and look for what your notes were on this particular market peer, we could have it right here. And you could obviously type out any other notes that would be, let's say, got negative attention from the New York Times, etc. Okay, so we got step 4 done. Now let's go to our holistic summary. This is going to be a summary that includes our research from our whole market. And so let's run that agent again. Now, definitely don't have to do your logo at this point, and you don't have to use this tool. But if you're feeling like, hey, I got some great information over here, I'm ready to create my logo, I feel really motivated to do that, you can use this tool and you basically put in your information, what you're doing, what kind of brand you are, and it will give you several options and you filter through them. So it's a logo creating website. There is a free logo that you can download, or you could pay for high resolution logos. And I do have an affiliate with this logo creator. Again, you totally don't have to use it. At this point, you can also hire a graphic designer or use AI tools as well that create logos. But I did find that this is a very helpful logo creator. As someone who's developed a lot of logos with the graphic designers in the past, I found that this website models that logo creation process. So it will iterate, it will give you some options, what you like, and then you can refine those options as you develop. Okay, we got our holistic summary over here. And so it looks like, it talks about how many people are in our market. It talks a little bit about the market gaps that we can take advantage of. And so if you like it, you can keep it, and you might be able to use this again in a business plan. If you're sending this to an investor, you can really think about this. Really just summarizes really nicely everything that we discovered. If you don't like it, we could run the agent again and get another response. So we went through all 5 of these modules, and hopefully that was really helpful. There's a few other resources as part of this tool that I just want to point out to you. You see, if you go to that smiley face, let me just show you this column over here. It can be a little sneaky. We can expand it. And so here we have references. So earlier we determined our brand offerings. So here, if we go to our different offerings, we could determine what kind of charging type it is, if it's free, if it's promotional. We can also add, so if say you have a package offering, and then we could put the price over here. So let's say it's $1,000. Okay. The last one over here is market peers. And here, this is our notes. So remember we took our notes. So we're going to want to go back and, hey, what were my notes specifically, without necessarily looking at all of the research and all the other modules. So here we can see this market peer over here, and this is the notes that we took for them. And again, we can just easily go to their website over here and see the information that we generated earlier. I want you to take a moment to appreciate what you've just done. You've really taken a huge step toward creating not just your practice, but something that is incredibly meaningful, incredibly well-researched and sustainable. We diagnosed, we clarified, we documented, and we have the basis for taking a very confident step forward. If you still have questions, if you want some additional support, we have our free Sage and Savvy community that you're more than welcome to join. We have regular weekly free Q&A sessions, and there's also other resources there available. So I invite you to join us there. One last thing, I would really appreciate if you stuck around this long, that you help the channel by leaving a comment and letting the community know what you thought about this process. It can really help other people that are also in the same place starting their practice. And if you subscribe, you'll see all of our amazing resources and content. So until next time, make it awesome.